Welcome to the Digital Asset Group podcast series, where we interview thought leaders in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. Today, we're very lucky to have Patrick Long from WeTrust. And yeah, how are you doing today, Patrick?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show, Sean.
Nice. So I have a few questions for you. The first one that I have is, obviously I know you from our time at UC Berkeley, Cal Badminton, and I think you were telling me about cryptocurrencies like 2015 to 2016, and I think you were definitely way ahead of the curve, and it's amazing how you saw the future before most people. So can you tell me more about what got you interested in this space?
Yeah, sure. So I actually heard about Bitcoin blockchains from one of my badminton teammates. I don't want to mention his name on the air because maybe he wants to stay anonymous, but we were talking one time in a badminton tournament and he told me about it. I think at the time Bitcoins were $20, $25, and I thought of it sort of just like, oh cool, this is like magic internet money. I don't really care about it, but it soon resurfaced again. At that time I was working at Ernst & Young, and like Sean mentioned, we worked for some time together there. And I, did a little bit more research. I had some curiosity about how money is made, and since we were working in this financial space, did some research on it. I was amazed that Bitcoin was a fixed supply, and can't really be tampered by anybody. It's just defined by computer code. And once I started doing that research, that interest sort of deepened, and I soon discovered Ethereum. And I think at that time Ethereum was about $1.50, and I was amazed about what smart contracts could do. And at that time, it was actually just a big promise by Vitalik and his team. The platform wasn't actually developed yet. They were still working on the first stable release. And I was doing lots of research, and I was thinking, well, it'd be really cool to build a dApp. And soon afterwards, I left Ernst & Young and found a bunch of guys that were also passionate about this, also entrepreneurial, and we decided to start our project sort of along the lines of financial inclusion and using blockchain technology to make the lives of people all around the world better.
Okay, yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. So I think one of the key things that WeTrust is trying to solve, at least from reading your blog articles and all the Twitter posts that you guys have, is to help give access to financial markets and maybe financial products and credit to the underbanked and unbanked. Can you tell me more about how WeTrust can help address this problem?
Right. So a lot of people, in these underserved communities, they don't have a way to store value. So, I wouldn't say WeTrust specific, but blockchain in general helps all these people, right? So they, are able to store value, store Bitcoin, store Ether, what have you, in a way where their governments can't take it, and also it just maintains value. So, in Venezuela, right, we know their governments are very unstable there. How cool would it be if you could put these cryptocurrencies in the hands of these people? And yes, Bitcoin does have lots of volatility, but it's nothing compared to something like an unstable currency where you're not sure if it's going to have any value, say, 3 to 6 months from now. So WeTrust is going after this in a more unique angle. We're building financial applications that allow cryptocurrencies to do more than just hold value. And we're trying to create bank-like services for these people. So a lot of these communities, they do savings and lending within groups of trusted family members, trusted friends. So we're creating a decentralized application so they can now use their cryptocurrency in a more productive manner instead of just holding capital. We're allowing them to group their capital and deploy it to individuals that need it really bad. So that's what we're about.
Yeah, thank you for telling us about that. I think you hinted at the product that you guys currently have, the TLC, the Trusted Lending Circle. can you explain a bit more how this product works?
Sure, yeah. The Trusted Lending Circle essentially is a smart contract on the Ethereum platform. It allows a circle creator to invite trusted individuals in their community and their family and essentially request money for pooling together in an event, sort of like a rainy day fund. So say I have 5 trusted friends, I send them an invitation. They can now come together, pool their Ether in a pool based off of the smart contract. And, every month, the person that needs the money the most, say, I was careless this month and dropped my laptop. I can request from the fund $2,000. And, there would be some interest, obviously, that I pay to my friends, but it'd be fair. And that interest would be kept in my community. So it's not going to be siphoned off to some, capitalist somewhere. So it's going to be, kept within my community. And then I also get access to this capital I need to get, whatever, new computer or a new bike that I need for that month. So that's the first product WeTrust is building, but, we also want to enable more financial dApps to be built. And so TBD, but we're considering working on a new financial platform as well. So more dApps, in addition to the TLC, can be built.
Got it. I think the TLC is a great product. I come from the Philippines, and I think in emerging markets like the Philippines, TLCs actually play a pretty big role. Like a lot of family, friends, and relatives, they'll often pool money together in an informal way, and I think that sort of hints at how valuable your product can be. When I was watching one of your other videos, I noticed that you mentioned one of your key target markets is in the U.S., like immigrants from other countries in the U.S. Can you tell us more about like the market that you're trying to address?
Right. So we've actually thought a lot about this. At first, we felt markets in the U.S. would be interesting to go after, markets in Africa, markets in India. But what we found was these people don't have cryptos. And we're an application that lives on the Ethereum blockchain, and obviously there's a number of stumbling blocks that the entire blockchain industry is wrestling with before mass adoption can happen. So I think I read some study somewhere, but there's roughly about 15 million crypto holders. And so if we're building this, lending dApp essentially with friends and family, we're targeting a small subset of that 15 million, which, is quite small. That's why there's some struggles in the user acquisition stage right now, but we're continuing to do user studies. We have 200 plus people that are testing the dApp for us right now. But I think the next product that we want to build will be more geared towards the entire 15 million. So sort of a platform for, crypto developers to build tailored dApps towards whatever use case they want. And I think this is important because now we can, evangelize financial inclusion beyond just one single use case. And we can expand towards many different things. So that's where I see WeTrust going in the future, sort of to overcome some of the shortfalls and, take these learnings that we've had trying to deploy the TLC.
Got it. So it seems like in terms of you're trying to figure out the best way you guys can add value, and a lot of times this is not uncommon in early stage companies, right? Like a lot of companies might figure things out along the way, and I think on that point, like I've been looking at a lot of ICOs, and I think your team obviously is one of the best teams out there. You have Vitalik's stamp of approval. You have like guys like Michael Casey, and you yourself, CPA, and George, who has maybe 10 years of experience or something, and Stanford grad too. So the Berkeley, the Stanford networks, and all. I think you guys have all the right people in the right places. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Our goal is to stay true to the mission and ultimately, do whatever it takes to hopefully, make an impact and add value. So we realize that and doing a singular dApp might not be the best, because we see the ecosystem still very new. Right? 2018 was sort of the rise of the ICO. 2017 and 2018, sort of the rise of the crowd sales, the rise of the ICOs, and lots of these companies are really well funded, but the ecosystem is still so fresh, so new, and at least me personally, I think in 2018 we're going to see a lot of these infrastructure pieces get built. Scalability hopefully will be achieved. There's going to be identity. There's going to be stable coins. And once these infrastructure pieces are in place, then finally you're going to see the growth of this crypto ecosystem grow hopefully much, much larger than 15 million people. And then you can start to see applications become successful and start to get real users. But it's sort of like that chicken and the egg problem, right? When you're building something so specific, targeting such a narrow population, you're going to need lots of people with crypto already to be successful. But I'm really optimistic. I think infrastructure pieces will happen because there's so many smart people with money now, and I think they're going to be able to build something cool. So let's cross our fingers. But I think 2018 is going to see lots of new deployments and better infrastructure pieces come out.
I definitely agree with that. And I guess my next question is about how I know you worked as a CPA at Ernst & Young and in the San Francisco office, and I think when you look at the backgrounds of some of the better teams out there, they all have experience at some good company. In your case, it's EY. George worked at McKinsey. And can you tell us more about how being a CPA and having worked in finance has helped you manage WeTrust from a COO perspective, which you're currently filling?
Right. Yeah. Sure. So for me, I feel like the soft skills helped me the most. I worked on a lot of teams, so I got to work with all different types of personalities. It's always obviously stressful, as most people find working at those, professional services companies. I mean, it's, you got to pull late hours and just, crank out the work. So that helped me sort of deal with, cope with the stress of also starting a business and dealing with ups and downs. Working with a big team, learning how to sort of prioritize the tasks and sort of lead meetings and sort of drive this crypto vision, whatever you want to call it. But all that helped. I think from the CPA side, when we're dealing with taxes and just dealing with our cryptos, that sort of helps. Knowing how to use Excel well and fluently, that also is good. But yeah, I think for me, I would say the soft skills and dealing with people, that's the thing that helped me the most. Working with lots of teams. And for the more technical things, I guess studying for the CPA and working with Excel and dealing with all those numbers, that also helps when trying to run a business and pull this all together. Does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think in working at EY myself, I think the technical skills and the quantitative aspects really help. But I guess when you're acting as a COO and you have a lot of different work streams, your work maybe transitions more from technical analysis to the softer side, which is managing people, learning how to motivate them, and driving work streams to the most efficient way that you can.
Right, and the thing that I like this might be a little bit cliche, but I like the beginner's mind sort of way of thinking, right? I never think that, I want to be confident, right? And I would say 80% of the time I'm confident, but I always have 20% sort of a little bit of doubting, so that I can continually iterate and come up with better and better ideas. So we come up with a point of view, we come up with a strategy we're comfortable and we really believe in, and we can get our team to buy into, but at the same time encourage people to continually try to learn and look about all the new cool things that are coming out. And I think that's especially important in this crypto space because you might have a point of view and you might have an approach that's right, cutting edge and ahead of everybody else, but the space is moving so fast that, the infrastructure constantly changes. There's new approaches to tackle problems, and you really have to be on top of that because your cutting edge solution that was better than everybody else might not be, 3 to 6 months from now. Right? There may be a new wallet that comes out that implements this new tech that, you don't know about. And so I really encourage that sort of beginner's mind, with all my, teammates, employees here. So we can really keep on top of what's going on and then, build a winning project.
Yeah, I think so. I totally agree with what you say. I think being open-minded, maybe keeping track of all the developments in the space and seeing where other people might come up with potentially disruptive businesses to other players, but also some people might make products that are disruptive towards your project as well. So yeah, and all the more in the cryptocurrency space because things are happening really, really fast. So I'm curious about, when we...
Sorry, you dropped off. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so I'm curious about when you want to determine, let's say, the success of the WeTrust platform. I know you mentioned that you're not only looking at TLCs, but the bigger picture is maybe introduce more apps that more people can use. What are some of the metrics that you have that you use to measure the growth of your platform? And then can you share more information about that?
Yeah, so metrics, I would say, it's hard to define because I think using a metric that the traditional sort of, apps use like Snapchat or, Zynga games isn't really fair. Reason being is this is something directed towards the crypto community specifically because it's going to be difficult to get people that have no idea how to use a wallet, how to sign transactions, and even care about this to use the product. So I think traditional metrics, I think are a good starting point, but don't really accurately represent what a successful dApp would be. I think a successful dApp can be measured by community engagement and people just using it, providing feedback, and helping the dApp or platform evolve. So metrics I want to use is something that compares it to something like Ethereum or Bitcoin. Is there a vibrant community? Is there, developer meetups that happen spontaneously? Are there conferences that your community sets up on their own? And is there this, very encouraging and developer-rich ecosystem? Is this there? And I think if we can successfully build that, where there's many active users, many active people talking about cool things, issues they're facing, community members coming up and answering those questions, that vibrant community, I think we've done a good job. And I would call that a success. Even if we don't reach those millions and millions that traditional applications have done, I think just by creating this vibrant community of support and fosters technological innovation, I would already call that a success for WeTrust.
Yes.
And I think the most beautiful thing is if a company or a project, what have you, can successfully create this ecosystem that continually innovates, even past its founders being there. So sometimes I think if Vitalik or any of the people on the Ethereum Foundation disappeared, what would happen to Ethereum? Well, I'll tell you the truth, it wouldn't die, right? It would continually innovate, and it's sort of like an organism that continues to grow, even if its parents aren't there anymore. So that's what I hope for WeTrust, and I really think that that's the single most important indicator for success. Even if the founding team isn't here anymore, or 200 years from now we're not here, the ecosystem can still be there. It can still self-govern, self-fund, and promote this mission for financial inclusion.
Yes, I think that was very well said. I think your point on the sustainability of a protocol or of a company or any project, like that's probably the most important measure of success, the long term sustainability of that project. And then I also agree that when you look at metrics, sometimes quantitative metrics can be limited or sometimes they can be manipulated even. Whereas I feel like community engagement is more authentic. And like with Bitcoin, for example, you have the Bitcoin Foundation and you have guys at Coin Center like helping, all pushing, all like helping the adoption and education of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And I think that shows that the community is very engaged. And yeah, I'd like to say that your community at WeTrust looks very engaged as well. I follow your Twitter posts like every day, and I share a lot of your posts. And yeah, I think you have a lot of exciting prospects, partnerships, and other good stuff coming up soon.
Yeah, I think community engagement is really important. I like what we have so far, but honestly, I think there's still a lot more to do. So, the team is going to be very hard at work to try to create this ecosystem that, is sustainable and, lasts for a long time.
Yeah. So I think those are actually like all of the questions that I have for you today.
Well, yeah, thanks for organizing this, and always happy to share my thoughts and speak on your podcast, Sean.
All right, yeah, thank you so much, Pat. I really appreciate your time, and I think that what you're building is something that means a lot to the underbanked and people who are not banked. So yeah, thank you for pushing forward with this initiative, and yeah, I think you guys will achieve a lot of great things in the near future.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Pat.